What is going on, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome to the next episode of Tuffy Talk. I think it's episode 22 we got going on here. We're doing a baseball recap of just what's been going on with the regional champions, the regional champions we are now. So we got Rob Chamra on here, and we got Leighton Smith and myself, and we're looking forward to talking about that. But, with that said, let's go ahead and get this thing started.
What is going on, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome again to the 22nd episode of Tuffy Talk. Thank you all so much again. Before we get started, please make sure, again, if you haven't already, please subscribe to us by hitting the button in the bottom right-hand corner. Please like this video, check out other content, and please follow us on Twitter or Instagram at Tuffy Talk Now. And with that being said, before we get going, we want to take a second to tell you about our sponsor, Flatland Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout Eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need, offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. They protect things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out. So with that being said, so we are here today, talk about baseball. A lot going on right now, a lot of exciting stuff. Obviously some heartbreak. Obviously, we got to talk a little bit about that with the ACC Championship. But obviously but then we went 3-0 in Louisiana Tech and swept the regional. So wanted to kind of first, we'll start talking a little bit here about the ACC tournament. So obviously a lot of good stuff, overall, obviously, with big wins, like against Georgia Tech, but, obviously falling short against Duke was hard, especially the way it was, losing 1-0. I mean, I think Robert Macon, I think if you got told that State was playing a game and you can bet even money and that Duke is only going to score 1 run, I think all of us would bet a lot of money that State would win if Duke only is going to score 1 run. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think especially with the run support that they've given their pitchers all year. I know they definitely are top up there in the ACC with runs scored a game. I would say 9.5 out of 10 times. You tell me the other team, no matter who it is going to score 1 run. We're going to win at least 2-1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you what though, I thought Duke's pitchers that game, they were just on, and I can't remember the one guy. I think he had the one guy with long hair. I can't remember his name, but he was just dealing really well that game, and guys couldn't really get the right get the bat on the ball too much, and it's credit to them, but you just kind of sucks because you get so far and you've tasted it and you're ready for it, but.
Yeah.
We had a conversation about, would you rather, people afterwards are like, livid because, we didn't win, and the whole typical, well, Avent's not really the guy. And, my thing was, like, I know a lot of people were, I know, just thinking, would you rather have a guy, or would you rather be a program that gets, is average and wins a championship once every 10 to 15 years? Or would you rather pretty much be there once every 3 to 5 years with a chance to win it? And that's what Avon's done. So I kind of dismiss all the other talk about, we need somebody else. The guy has over 900 wins, and we just won a regional championship. It just wasn't our day. So,
well, and for me, again, yeah, I mean, I was definitely one. I know we kind of talked a little bit earlier in a couple of, I think our 5th or 6th episode about baseball. And I was saying that, I mean, I wasn't 100% sold on Avon just because of the fact that at the time he was 0-5 in ACC conference championship games, and now unfortunately 0-6 in conference championship games. But again, unfortunately, that's the only thing you could really say about him. At the end of the day, he's a guy that loves NC State inside and out. He's somebody that's, gotten us to multiple regionals, super regionals, has gotten us to number 1 in the country even a handful of times, has taken us to Omaha once. Does well against Carolina, which I know all State fans want really badly. So again, it's just like, at the end of the day, he's arguably one of the best coaches in NCAA, college baseball. And, so that's why at the end of the day, because you always ask the question when you're trying to think about if you want another coach, you ask the question yourself, who can we get better? And there's a handful of guys that you could take a chance on. It could work out, but things are going so well besides the ACC championship thing. And again, it's at the end of the day, like I think it was Austin Murr, I think who had the error where he didn't tag up correctly, and that
Yeah.
caused an out during a key situation that could have tied up that game. You know, that's not even. That's just, I mean, unfortunately, just he made it. He made a mistake, and it hurt. So it's just kind of one of those things that even if you were to say maybe it is his fault, how could you possibly say that loss was necessarily Avon's fault?
Right.
So
I saw one tweet. I think it was Adam Gold, I think, or somebody from the Raleigh radio station. He was saying that it wasn't Avon who went and told Murr to get off the bag too early. It wasn't Avon who went out there and coached him to do that. It just happened. It
yeah.
was just a mental error.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Listen, it's a mental game, and I mean, I'm sure you guys seen his little video post speak after
Yeah.
winning the regional. I coach at the high school level now. It's the little things at the end of the season. If you make one more mistake than the other team, unfortunately, you'll probably be the losing team.
Yeah.
And that was that one little mental error. It just so happened to happen right there, because right there, it's a 1-1 game, extra innings. I'm confident going into the next couple innings there if it's a 1-1 game, especially getting deeper into their bullpen.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And again, it's the biggest frustration, honestly, for me, as I know Macon was kind of talking about the Duke pitcher. So Cooper Stinson was his name, and he actually had a 5.28 ERA, which isn't even in the top 20 of starting pitchers. So again, it's not it's frustrating because I mean the opportunity was there, and there because I see this team a lot like the 2013 team with Trey Turner, Carlos Rodon that went to the College World Series, where I mean that team was stacked. And you look at when because we lost to Carolina in the semifinals, and that was like the 18 inning game,
Hmm.
and you go, God, like the opportunity. Like you look at the ACC this year, and you go, man, we really should have won. Like I think truly we are the best team in the ACC, and we should have won that thing. So again, but again, that's a frustration that all state fans unfortunately know all too well. But again, fortunately enough, again, you have a guy who loves his players, loves the school, and would do anything for the school or the kids, anything that it took. So for the time being, we're just gonna see what he does in the supers, and enjoy the ride. And whenever his time comes and he hangs up his hat, then we'll really go out there. And again, hopefully by then we'll see an upgrade in facilities. That'd be nice as well. So tag on that. So
Yeah,
so
but I
anyway,
will say I will add this though. I think one thing that's being overlooked about that one game, and kind of right now, maybe you can use it as a segue maybe to the next thing, but
mhm,
I think the pitching is being a little bit overlooked a little bit right now, and I think some of the fielding too. This, particularly, I know, like I feel like that we've known a little bit that Villeman is a really good, relieving pitcher,
mhm,
but he's been really critical against. He pitched pretty well against Duke, and again, it was only one run. I mean, we only
Hmm.
lost by one run, so it those it was just a poor offensive day, and more so at an even better pitching day to Duke.
yeah,
But going into this regional, going into the super regionals, I mean, you can see these. The fielding is really, really good. I mean, just very underrated. The pitching is very underrated. I know Willardson. Maybe people might think he wasn't. He was kind of okay, so against Louisiana Tech or and during that little series. But you know that last game, I think it was. I think he mainly only got hit. The hits on him were only off one guy.
mhm,
So him and Villeman, obviously we know Reed Johnston. I think Evan Justice did a great job. But my point is those guys, I think with that, particularly we're talking about that Duke matchup, the pitching, State's pitching that game, and then in the regionals, and then the fielding, it's just, I think, a little bit overlooked at how good that's been.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah. No. And again, keep in mind, again, Chris Villeman and Matt Willardson, both true freshmen. True freshmen.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys are the real deal. And actually, too, and I do need to double confirm this, but if I'm not mistaken, per ACC's website, they are the only two pitchers that have shutouts in the ACC. So
Hmm.
they're the only two pitchers that have that. So
Regardless of class.
yeah, right. So for their appearance, but again, I'll have to go back and double check that. So so yeah, so now we'll go into the regional. I mean, the biggest thing which I would say, and I think you kind of mentioned it, making about the pitching, because I mean, I think the commentators probably said once every 5 minutes about how electric of an offense Louisiana Tech has. And for us to win that game, pitching would have to step up, period. And the biggest thing that I think was huge for us was honestly the first game when we played Bama, and how far. And I think Reed Johnston went I think it was like 7 or 8 innings. He went far, and then Evan Justice came in and finished out the game. And I think that was a huge, I mean, it got us started in the right direction, because again, I mean, we didn't have to go through, a bull, our bullpen in order to win that game. We could just rely on Reed, throw Evan in there, let him finish it up, and then move on, and then keep everybody ready for Louisiana Tech. And because I mean, we all know it, so the statistics say that if you win the first two games, so you win the winners bracket, then 82% of teams who do that win the regional. So I mean, it can't stress enough how important that second game was, and beating Louisiana Tech was in the first game that we played them. So, Rob, I mean, I definitely am curious from you, since it was such a huge, pitching weekend. I would say huge successful pitching weekend. I'm definitely interested in your thoughts on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely I watched all three games. After that first game, I believe it was 8-1 over Bama, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Pitching looked great, but then I think I saw the score of that Louisiana Tech game. I want to say they put up 23 runs, and that's when I was a little nervous going into that first game against Louisiana Tech. But the pitching held them, I think, to 3 runs.
Yep.
And then that first win against Louisiana Tech was huge, going into Sunday, and then just the bats showed up. I know they jumped on us 4-0. We were down in a hole, and it looked shaky there. Then all of a sudden we fought back. I'm thinking that the third or fourth inning, and then just exploded. That grand slam obviously opened up the game.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that was the offense was huge. So they scored 8, and 14 runs. That's tremendous in a 3 game series.
Yeah. What? Go
Hey,
ahead, Megan.
Leighton, I'm going to add this. I checked your stat while we were looking.
Yeah.
There's one other pitcher who's had a shutout, and it's Notre Dame's Bertrand.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Bertrand, yeah, John Bertrand for Notre Dame. So, but it's basically it's Villeman, Willardson from State, and then Bertrand, and that's it.
Yeah. But
Yeah, it's
again,
impressive.
freshman doing that.
Yep.
So, because one of the things that I did want to kind of talk about, or kind of off to the side a little bit, kind of talk to you about, Rob, as well. So one of the things when I was kind of looking at the stats for the team that I wanted kind of your input on, so when I was looking, so I mean, we basically have a set starting nine. I mean, that bat every single game, and have for the entire season, with Butler, McDonough, Murr, Tatum, Torres, Brown, Jarrett, Trash, Menzie, and that's it. And then after that, there's maybe a handful of guys that maybe gotten a couple of appearances at the bat. So I know, like for like football, for example, or most sports, you kind of want to see that that depth, where you kind of get to the point where you have guys that obviously some are going to leave, but you feel good with who you have leaving behind, that they can step in and take over for what was left, and continue on here. So my only worry is, I mean, again, as great as this batting lineup has been, I mean, spectacular. I do worry a little bit for next season, and just the fact that, I mean, it seems like that we basically have relied on this nine, and that's it. But I mean, because I mean, I easily see maybe two or three guys here that are going to leave after this season. So that's kind of my worry. But again, baseball could be different. That's why I wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think obviously you do. It's rare to see 8, 9 guys in a lineup, and every single one of them play the 45, 46, 50 games. Usually you have 6 or 7 bench guys that get a handful of at bats in games, and here you don't. But no, that's what recruiting's for. That's what Coach Hart's for. That's what Coach Chrysler's for, and Coach Avent. I'm sure they have some JUCO transfers lined up. I'm sure they have a great freshman class coming in, like always. So I'm not concerned about that. And look, this year started off slow, and these guys figured it out. And 33-17 is a great record. I know a lot of teams are up at that 40 win record, but I mean, I know we had a bunch of games canceled. There were 2 series because of COVID. Um, but no, I definitely think the holes could be filled next year, and you never know with the draft and the COVID eligibility years.
True.
Um,
Yeah.
but no, I have confidence in the coaching staff and their recruiting abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was gonna comment on this too, kind of to highlight a little bit of that in perspective. So we think of Terrell Tatum right now. He's been hitting pretty well the
He's
last few
I
seasons.
feel
yeah.
like he's on base the majority of the time.
Yeah, and
Um,
this is like been a breakout year for him on offense.
Oh,
yep.
easily,
So
easily.
you could
I think
have a guy. You could have a
he
guy or
has
two at
10
that
plus
next season.
homers,
Yeah,
right? He's 10,
yeah,
11 homers.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I mean, this was a guy that I mean, going into the season, I pretty much knew as Mr. Strikeout. Like that. That's all I feel like he was known for, was just striking out. And he still leads the team this year in strikeouts. But I mean, he's hitting 313. I mean, he's hitting like crazy. I don't know if it's a new hairdo with the dreads or whatever or something. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I mean, to go from again Mr. Strikeout to first team All ACC. I mean, dude,
Yeah,
where did that guy
it's
come
impressive.
from?
That's my whole point. Like you don't mean like you got to trust Avon and the rest of the staff. They know their guys, and they know they're gonna want them to succeed and put them in situations to succeed, not to fail, and if nothing else to grow. And clearly with Tatum, like you said, he just he just exploded. So
Yeah.
you could have a guy like that right now on the roster that just hasn't either gotten his chance yet, or you just never know what next year holds.
So, but so I actually did before this interview take a look at what the most recent uh I guess top 100 players is for the MLB and kind of where state players fall in. So we actually do, and you actually do mention recruiting. So we do actually have a top end recruit in Khalil Watson, who is a shortstop and is committed to us, and he's put as right now as a number 8 player in the draft for this upcoming draft. So super highly, but I mean,
Where's he
uh,
from? Did
I
he
I
say where he's from?
feel like chances are slim, but again, I mean, hey, it could shock the world, but I mean, I don't know, man. Number 8, that's a lot of money right there. So I'm interested. Yeah, I see you shaking your head there, Rob. So I'm curious. I mean,
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. And he's at a high school, right?
yeah, mm-hmm.
He's
Yeah.
out of Wake Forest, North Carolina, so just north of Raleigh.
Yep, yeah, Wake Forest, North Carolina. So
Well, if he's listening, hopefully we get to watch him next year.
oh, I sure do. That would be amazing. Well, and then Luca Tresh. So he kind of went. He was like in the 40s, but now he's at 69. Torres, he stayed at 72. Tyler McDonough, though, he's actually jumped in. He's actually number 111 right now. So he's actually jumped in. He was a guy that wasn't in that top 200 or whatever, but he's jumped up. And then we also have 2 other commits. Tommy White, who's a third baseman, he's number 130, and then Peyton Green, who's a shortstop, and he's number 148. So it's definitely, again, I mean, it shows how strong recruiting that we have, and again, it's if Khalil does go, hopefully at least with Peyton Green, with being 148, he might stick around. We'll see. So
Yeah.
and then he could jump in that shortstop spot.
I'm gonna comment on Torres though, man. That play he made
I was about to
late, I
ask.
think it was late in the game,
Yeah.
where the guy it kind of gets hit between the shortstop and third base hole there.
He
Yeah.
came charging in.
Oh man, that was a heck of a play.
Yeah, no, the diving catch. I was just about to ask you, Rob, if you can make a play like that.
No.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna say this
Not
too.
not
He had. I'll tell you another thing too. To kind of, I was on defense, but on offense, I can't remember what inning it was. I want to say it was like the 5th, maybe the big inning we had. But Jose Torres, he did like an 11 pitch at bat and
Yeah,
got
he
a
kept
walk.
fouling off.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I mean, to me, that was a critical moment in the game. I thought that will be overlooked because that was total mental battle, and we talked about that a little bit earlier. But I thought Torres was very key in that last win against Louisiana Tech.
And that was
Just
it ended up in a walk, right?
Yes.
yeah, he got
Yeah.
walked.
Yep.
I think he was down 0-2. I think
Yep, and came back.
could be wrong, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, again, because because we kept tweeting, during it too, saying you kind of felt like that the audience really was trying to push the momentum back in Louisiana Tech's favor. So I mean,
That was critical.
easily
critical,
one big play from Louisiana Tech would have set the crowd on fire, and then it
Yep.
could have easily shifted. And
And
State
Rob,
never let that happen.
Rob, let me ask you this from a pitcher's perspective. How much does an environment like that affect you? The moments like that get to you,
You
generally
know
speaking.
what?
Like,
Not much. Not much.
okay, I don't know.
You don't really hear it. As long as you've been in it before. But I know these guys are freshmen, so maybe a little bit as freshmen.
Yeah.
But no, I've pitched in the ACC championship before, and it's a crazy environment. But no, it shouldn't. Like, that's what you train for. You
Okay.
mentally prepare yourself, and I mean, you play in front of those crowds. And listen, COVID played a factor, so it could have had a little bit. But I think these guys are mature enough and coached enough where it's tunnel vision. All you see is the catcher and the sign. That's about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because speaking about that, because I mean, I don't know if you watched the Nebraska Arkansas game yesterday, but late in the game, when Arkansas started to take over, their pitcher at the time was, I think he threw like 7 or 8 balls straight or something like that. And you could just see, even like maybe on like the second or third ball, that like it was just obvious that he was just bugged. I mean, he was just rolling his eyes
Hmm.
and just like, grabbing his cap. And I don't know, to me, I just say to myself again, I mean, I don't know if that's just simply that he's, I don't know what, year he is, but maybe just a matter of experience. But I mean, it was obvious that, I mean, it was really affecting him. And so I don't feel like I've ever seen that before. A pitcher get, that, bug.
Bothered by
Usually they'll
something.
shake it off,
Yeah.
move on, and, try and hit that strike zone. But I mean, it was odd for sure. But I mean, I'm glad that it wasn't a state pitcher I was watching do that. It was a Nebraska one. But yeah, I mean, so because the one thing too, which I did want to kind of reiterate again, that was a huge thing for me for the Louisiana Tech game, which I thought was a great way to summarize it. So the commentator at one point literally said you could take the batting lineup and put it on a sheet of paper, put it on a board, and throw a dart at it, and you can make a case for any one of those guys that falls on as being the MVP for the game. I mean,
Yeah.
Devontae Brown. I mean, I think he would end up being the MVP, and then we had 7 or 8 of the all regional team players as well. But I mean, Devontae Brown, super impressive, and obviously Johnny Butler continues to just be amazing. I don't know what's
I think
going
I
on with
think
him,
I think
but
Murr had 7 hits in that one game. I think it or no, not one game in the series. I think is what it was. It could be. I can't remember what the number was. But
yeah.
7 hits.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I mean, Butler's continued to just do his thing, but I mean, even JT Jarrett, who's the
Yep.
9-hole hitter, he's been impressive. I mean, so
Yep.
again, it's the only thing we can really hope is, again, let's keep it rolling. I mean, again, I mean, the commentator said it best. I think that honestly, Arkansas, even though they're playing, the 16 seed or whatever, I mean, I think the commentary, most guys would say, nobody really wants to play state right now. Let's put it that way. I mean,
Well, let me pose this question. I know we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier before we recorded, but is there a guy on the team right now on offense that concerns you at all? What do you think? I mean, it's kind of like, if we're being so positive, I
besides
kind of think,
nitpicking, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. I mean, like we've said a ton of, like, here's the thing: you score all those runs, and there's no one to really talk about. I know we were talking a little bit Mensick, but he's playing a great third base. He's just been quiet,
yeah,
hitting wise, but you have all these other guys that are lighting it up right now.
right,
So I
right.
get you can afford to have 1 to 2 guys not producing right now when you're putting up 14 and 8 runs. But there will come a time where he's going to
He's
have
the
to
guy.
step up, and
Yeah,
whether it's get a bunt down or a hit and run or a squeeze or just get a hit to start the inning.
Mhm.
But this is why
yeah.
college baseball is college baseball. So he has a week. He'll work on it at practice. I'm sure the hitting coaches working with him, and they'll figure it out.
Well,
Yeah.
because the biggest thing too, which I love about this team, is the diversity of it in terms of, I mean, we have 3 guys. I mean, I would say with Murr, Jarrett, Tatum, that can easily be a drag bunt guy and run and make it there. We have power. We have 5 guys that have hit double-digit home runs this season. We obviously have the clutch factor for sure. I mean, between Johnny Butler and Tatum's been really good when it comes to clutch hitting. I mean, from the offensive side, we could do it all. I mean but again, that's the worry, is that we did so well in the regionals. It's like, it's just such an interstate thing that all of a sudden it's not going to come in the super regionals. But again, we all hope that continues. I mean, for sure. Again, I mean, pitching and batting were amazing during the
Yeah.
regionals. So
I think
just
there's a little sour taste in the mouth from the Duke game. And these guys are clicking, they're rolling, and
yeah,
and the pitching's been great.
yeah,
Um,
you've hit on the head.
Listen, they scored 4 runs on Sunday on two-run homers that were just sliders left up in the zone,
Mhm.
which most hitters could do. They'll see that ball, elevate it, and it gets out of the park. So you take
Yep.
away those 2 pitches, you're now at what was it, 7, but a couple runs at the end that really weren't anything. So it would have been a 14-3 or 4 game instead of 14-7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of think another add too. I was listening to another podcast and talking about this game, and they made a point that was a good general point that this offense first game against Louisiana Tech, it was a good amount of home runs. But then the second game, no home runs, but a lot of singles and doubles we still scored on. So it's not like we just are a team or offense that's relying heavily on just cranking them out of the park, or we
Hmm.
just are always getting singles and doubles, but we can't get that home run for the. But it's pretty. They just find a way to generate the offense, whether no matter what kind of hitting is going on. So they're just. I don't know where if they. I don't see a glaring weakness with this team, and I know obviously as we are state fans, I just don't really see it. I mean, maybe you have youth at the in the bullpen pitching. Like we talked about Willardson and Villeman. We talked maybe if we had a nitpick on offense, like Minshee could, maybe have hit a little better against Louisiana Tech. But I mean, if you're another team you're playing against State, you're kind of look at it like, holy, like, dang, I don't want to have to play them right now. I don't really scared of many teams. I mean, Arkansas is going to be tough. But with the way we're playing, I legit would not. I think we could. I think we could win the game. I mean, it's
Oh,
not like it'd be like, oh man, it's a big stretch. I don't think
easily.
it's a big stretch. Yeah.
Well, especially since it doesn't come down to just one game. It's a best out of 3 series. So I mean, it's literally basically. I mean, you have to prove you're the better team, not just that simply you had the luck in your favor for the day, something like that. So,
Right.
but I mean, yeah, because we were actually talking beforehand. I mean, Arkansas is a team that you cannot fall behind on. Like you have to be sticking ahead, especially with us
Mm-hmm.
since we don't have a very deep bullpen. If like let's say Reed Johnson jumps in and 3 innings in he gives up 3-4 runs, something like that, and you have to pull him, then
Tough.
I think all of us state fans go, oh no, that's not what we want there. So because again, there's not really that strength and depth behind it, especially because again, I mean, all state fans, I'm sure, saw at least some of one of the Arkansas games, and I mean, their crowd is, I mean, it's a humongous stadium. It's sold out from top to bottom. People are basically sitting on top of each other, and I mean, it's super loud. It's a crazy environment, and so I mean, it really. I mean, I truly do think. I think the batting lineup is going to do what they're expected to, but I think it really does come down to pitching. But I mean, to kind of knock the head on it. So Arkansas has a guy named Kevin Kopps, pitcher, and I mean, redshirt senior. I mean, check these stats out. He has a 12-0 record this season. He has a .68 ERA. .68 ERA. And he's
Is
pitched.
that good? I'm just kidding. Just
Yeah,
kidding.
I mean, and he's pitched 79.2 innings and has 120 strikeouts. I mean, that dude is ridiculous. So, I mean, the last thing
Maybe
you
he has
want
the
is to
off
be
night
down.
though.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing you want is to be down a run or two heading into eighth or ninth inning, and they bring in Cops. I mean, that's the last situation you want to be in. But I'm sure Rob, even with you being a foreign pitcher as well, I'm sure you even look at Cops and go, that dude's a real deal.
Yeah, no, I mean, 120 strikeouts is the real deal, but to do it in less than 80 innings is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, so over
It's
over
impressive.
over one strikeout per inning. That's
Yep,
crazy.
yep.
So, but again, it's. I think you kind of saw it though with the Nebraska Arkansas game, where you kind of saw maybe that weakness a little bit from Arkansas, but you kind of hope that with that you don't also get a fired up Arkansas team. It's like, okay, obviously we struggled there, so we're going to come firing here. So, but yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, really, for me, again, it's just going to come down to pitching. At the end of the day, if the pitching can just stick through it, if they, do what we expect them to do with Evan Justice, if we have to bring him in, he needs to step up and do what we expect him to do. And I think at the end of the day, if you can hold it, if you can hold Arkansas to 3-4 runs even per game, I mean, you got to feel good as a state fan of the odds that we're going to score enough to win that game, win that series. But I mean, there's so many X factors that are going into it. But the one thing which I will say, it's going to be a great super regional. It's going to be super entertaining.
I think it's
Yeah.
going to be one of the top regionals. I know there's a couple close
Oh, easily.
ranked teams playing, but just looking at both lineups, we have five guys in double-digit home runs.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
think they have six. I'm
Yep.
going to venture to say one of these games is going to be a slugfest. It's just I hope it's not game one. I hope Reed comes out, and like you said, I don't think we can fall behind. We have to throw the first punch. We need to get out there, get the lead, 1-0, 2-0, whatever it is, and keep putting them in a hole. I think if we fall behind, it is going to be tough. There is an advantage on the road. You play there every day. You're not traveling, and obviously the fans and the noise. But if we could just get out to an early lead, if you could win game one, and then I feel that there's going to be a slugfest, and you got to win that slugfest, whether it's game two or game three.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I mean, we have the bats to do it. They have the bats to do it too. It's just who's going to make the less mistakes and who's going to execute um, better than the other team
And
one or more
that's what
times.
it's going to come down. It's not going to get really any easier. I mean, maybe it will because you're going to play against right now. You're playing against number one team in the country, but not really. I mean, every day it's going to be who makes the least amount of mistakes and who
Yep.
can capitalize on every opportunity.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But I mean, again, it's um, you know, I kind of have to obviously bring up the interesting part as well, that I thought was fun was so when kind of going back a little bit to the regional game, I want to kind of bring this up because I forgot to earlier. So I kind of think back to when State played Coastal Carolina in the regionals, and it was the game 7, and I think it was the top of the ninth inning, and Coastal Carolina, it was pouring down raining, and Coastal Carolina, 3 straight batters. I mean, we threw, I think, like 4 balls in a row for each of them, basically loaded the bases with no outs, up by 2, and we were up by 2 runs, and then they stopped the game. And of course, I still remember to this day, Kisner, who was the catcher at the time, that when they called the game, he turned around and just lit up the umpire. Like, I mean, basically just saying, you pick now with the bases loaded with no outs to call the game. Like, are you serious? And then with Louisiana Tech regional kind of bringing it back, you saw kind of a smaller
Yeah.
side of that, but it's the opposite where it got called in our favor, where they waited until I think it was Tatum or Torres.
That Louisiana Tech coach was not happy, man.
Yeah, and he had a 2-run RBI, and then they stopped the game, and the Louisiana Tech coach came out and just lit up the umpire. Like, really, you're gonna wait until after the 2 RBIs come in to stop the game? But it's just, I still remember to this day watching that, going, okay, now if you just even listen for 1 second what we've been through with this similar
Yeah. No
situation,
one feels
let me
bad
tell
for
you,
you.
not even close. It's not
At
even
least
Yep.
not
close.
us.
I mean, they waited till the bases were loaded with no outs to call the game. I mean, come on, it's not even fair. So, but yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing, for sure is that I kind of look at for the rest of the season, especially because with the World Series, the one thing is I mean, so again, it's 8 teams, double elimination. So I mean, it's a long tournament. So the one thing which I do want to say is, I mean, what a perfect position. Because I mean, I do feel like, I mean, the ideal thought that this super regional is going to go just like the last regional, where basically Reed does his thing, Sam Highfield does his thing, Chris does his thing, and then we win 3 games and it's over. Great. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Arkansas is good enough that you're going to have to rely on some of these guys that haven't really seen a whole lot. Like like a Cody Ingle, like a Dalton Feeney, something like that to come in and take over a little bit. Because I mean, again, for the College World Series, you're not going to be able be able to rely on Matt, Evan, Chris, Sam, and Reed to get it done. I mean, there's so many games that these guys are going to have to jump in. So kind of like what you're saying, at the end of the day, I mean, if we're gonna if we can't do it against Arkansas, then we couldn't have done it in the College World Series anyway, where we can have somebody coming in that we can rely on to take over. I mean, it's such a long tournament, so it's way more than 3 games. So that's kind of my thought on it. I want to kind of get you guys' thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, someone's going to have to step up for sure. But listen, you can't look past this weekend. But I
Mhm.
think every single team is in the same boat because you look for your three starters, your Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you rely on those guys throughout the year. And you usually figure out midweek. You throw a couple guys who you think are starters, or you do relief days, and where like you throw a couple guys. But I think a lot of the teams that are going to be in the College World Series, they're going to be in the same ballpark. And just going back watching these College World Series games, there are slugfests, and that's usually what happens. And I'm confident with this lineup. You got to win a slugfest or two in order to win the College World Series. And yeah, you're going to have a guy that may have thrown 4, 5, 6 innings this year that may have to throw 6 or 7 and start a game. And those are the stories you hear and read about online. Um, of someone. I remember Oregon State had someone back in like the 2011, 12, or 13, somewhere around there. The kid, I think, threw 1 inning all year, and then he came out threw 7 innings and scoreless, and they won the game. Like
Wow.
that's what has to happen. So, but
Yep.
I'm confident with this roster and this lineup, and this weekend, obviously one game at a time, but it'd be interesting to see them back in the College World Series.
Heck yeah. Well, but to kind of end it on this question though. So I mean, I am curious from your side, Rob. So besides Matt, Evan, Chris, Sam, and Reed, the main 5 that we've seen over and over again, you kind of said that you're confident in the bullpen here to that there's guys enough to get it done. So is there like a specific pitcher or two that's not a part of that main 5 that you feel the
Yeah,
most confident about?
I think Colby Engel is going to have to step up. And like you said, and you mentioned Dalton Feeney. I know he's gotten some opportunities. He's going to have to step up. And then, I mean, yeah, one of those guys, whether it's, I'm sure Reed will probably start the first game, but he'll have to probably have two starts in the College World Series. I know it's over a week and a half, 2 weeks, so there will be that rest, but one of these main starters will have to start on 2, 3 days rest, which
Mhm.
I mean, that's what you live for, though. And that adrenaline in the TD Ameritrade Park, I never witnessed it, but I've seen it on TV. I'm sure it's through the roof, and you could pitch on one day's rest after throwing 100 pitches. I'm sure.
Yep.
Um, but this is what you go to NC State for. This is what you play D1 baseball for. Is the dream to go to Omaha and anything to win.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so making any last thoughts on this upcoming super regional, my friend?
No, I mean, I just think it's going to be. I, I'm just really excited to see the matchups. I think it's going to be like a heavyweight versus a heavyweight, and who comes out on top. That's what everybody kind of wants to see in the sports. They want to see the big dogs go up against each other, and um, you know, I'm just excited about it. I, I'm trying to weigh my mind of if I think, as a typical state fan, like, oh man, are we gonna? Is this going to be like say we lose potentially? Is this a disappointing season? I don't even want to think about that yet, man. I just want to focus on the game and
Yep.
the series and see what happens. Because imagine if they can win, they would have just beaten the number one team in the country and
Mm,
go to the World Series. Does that they still keep the sour taste of the Duke championship in their mouth while also having the momentum of beating Arkansas? I mean, that would be ideal. I would imagine that's pretty likely. Um, if we lose to Arkansas, then I'm gonna be like, well, you know what? We lost the number one team in the country, and they're number one for a reason. So it's going to be really, really. It's going to see what's NC State really got in the tank right now. Kind of this series, kind of
yeah.
like a litmus test, if you will. Kind of, but it's
Yeah.
anything can happen. Like it's baseball.
Yeah.
Yep,
Well,
anyone could beat anyone on any given day.
that's right. Well, and it's kind of funny, like you kind of say that. I mean, yeah, I mean, when you say even the thought of beating Arkansas, I kind of go, oh man, like, dude, that'd be huge. But then right after I think that, I'm going to think, man, we really should have beaten Duke. Come on, like,
Yeah.
we just beat
Yeah,
Yep.
Duke's
Arkansas.
already out, and Duke's already out
Yeah.
of the tournament. So
Right. No, exactly. No, exactly. No, no, Arkansas wouldn't be huge, but we'll definitely look forward to that. So make sure again, guys. So I think the schedule came out. So it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 6 p.m. on Friday, and 3 p.m. for Saturday and Sunday. So definitely make sure to check those out. I think they're going to be on ESPN2 or ESPNU, depending on the schedule. So make sure to
that's
check
right.
those out. Wolfpack Nation is going to be a huge weekend, and we're going to be here to follow it the whole time. So thank you all so much again for tuning in. Again, please make sure if you haven't already, please subscribe to us by hitting the button in the bottom right hand corner. Please like this video, check out other content, follow us at Tuffy Talk Now. We're going to be tweeting and all that jazz the entire weekend. So definitely make sure to follow us so that way you can join in on it and share thoughts with us as well. And again, also to thank you all as well to our sponsors, Flyland Jessup Insurance Group. Make sure to go check them out as well. Their information is in the video description below. And thank you all so much again. Looking forward to a great weekend. As always, go Pack, y'all.